was the monster among men. Braun Strowman, the monster among men.
Yeah! Somebody is gonna get these hands!
Braun Strowman making a statement. Strowman is annihilating everything in his path.
Hope you got insurance, because there's your car. Monday Night Raw is brought to you by the Monster Among Men.
Strowman's dragging Owen to the top of the ladder. Oh my God! Anybody in there? Not going. Kevin Owens was inside that porta john.
I've smashed tables out and ladders. I toss around grown men like beanbags.
Strowman is a one-man wrecking machine.
Hell, I've even played a cello.
Symphony of Destruction. Strowman laid waste. Who can stop this man?
Monster Among Men. Somebody is gonna get these hands. Somebody is going to get these hands. I'm the monster among men. Destruction, people laying all over the place. Trucks, Kane, sets, everything. Just laying to waste by Braun Strowman, right? That's what we saw last night on Raw. We also saw another clip of Brock Lesnar and his year in 2018, which honestly does not amount to much. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, WWE saying that they are promoting change. Really, it is the more things change, the more things stay the same. Because Braun Strowman's true year in WWE 2018 has been an epic waste of time. An extraordinary waste of time. From start to finish, when you really think about it. How he didn't accomplish anything at the Royal Rumble last year because we knew that was leading to WrestleMania 34 between Roman and Brock Lesnar. How he won the tag team championships with, I think his name was Nicholas, and then dropped the titles the night later. Relinquished them because he couldn't, defend the titles with Nicholas. Then, the whole thing with Kevin Owens and all that jazz, only to be turned heel and have what was one of the most horrible finishes in a Hell in a Cell match history. Then to be absolutely buried by Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. And now we're supposed to believe that he stands a chance at the Royal Rumble just because he beat Baron Corbin at TLC with the help of a bunch of men in a TLC matchup? I don't think so. It has been an epic waste of time. There's nothing you can do to make any of us out there in the WWE universe believe that Brock Lesnar is going to lose at the Royal Rumble, that Brock Lesnar is not going to walk into WrestleMania 35, the Universal Champion. Not only that, but what happened later on in the show between Seth Rollins and Triple H. This was very interesting. This was more important than anything with Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, if you want to know the truth, because this could be setting up for WrestleMania. If rumors are true that Seth Rollins could be the one to face Brock Lesnar. Now, Seth Rollins came out and laid out that he wanted his challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. He wanted his rematch. Well, Triple H had other news for him, another agenda for him tonight, and that was he's not getting his Intercontinental Championship rematch because there are none. He said, you are not the Seth Rollins that I used to know. You are not the one I used to believe in. What happened to that Seth Rollins? Now all you want is to have things handed to you. You used to take things. That's the Seth Rollins that I believed in. The Seth Rollins that I believed in made me believe that he was going to carry Monday Night Raw. And the Seth Rollins kind of stopped him right in his tracks and said, what are you talking about? Seth Rollins, me, I have been carrying Monday Night Raw on my back for the past 12 months. The one thing that I do like, whether WWE is throwing all of our words right back in our face or not, it is the fact that they are having Seth Rollins say stuff that we have been spewing at them. Whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube comments, whatever. That is exactly what we've been saying in so many words. Seth Rollins universally is the one segment, whether it's match or whatever, that we genuinely enjoy on Monday Night Raw. Hardly ever see any bad comments about Seth Rollins' match quality. Hardly ever. So, that is one thing that I actually enjoy about Seth Rollins' promos here as of late. But the fact that he is showing a more aggressive side on Raw, especially last night, because Triple H said, you are going to start by facing Almighty Cringely. That made me cringe when I had to hear that he had to face Bobby Lashley last night. And the fact that the announcer said that was one of the best matches in the tournament at Crown Jewel. When in reality, that was one of the worst matches in the tournament at Crown Jewel. Don't believe me, or if you don't remember, or if you didn't watch it, go back and watch. That was one of the worst matches. And if it had any promising perks to it, it had nothing to do with Bobby Lashley. Trust me. Because, I mean, this match really didn't show any a sign of promise to it outside of the very end of it. Because it is showing us what it might take to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Now, Shane McMahon came out. Shane O'Mac came out and said, calm down. Stop getting this guy riled up before he burns the entire building down. We got a fresh start Battle Royal. And the winner of the fresh start Battle Royal will go on to face Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. WWE. Look, I think I speak for everybody here when I say a battle royal to determine number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship is not a fresh start. That is WWE's basic, old school wrestling 101 easiest way to name a number one contender for a championship. Been doing it since the beginning of time, beginning of wrestling. If you wanted to mix things up, if you wanted to have change, I understand Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins are still in this rivalry. But let's be honest here. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, if Seth Rollins is going to move on, needs to come to a close, and he needs to just be in the Royal Rumble match. So if this is the case, you could have set up a tournament to happen on Monday Night Raw throughout the next number of weeks leading into the Royal Rumble. And then the winner of that tournament could have faced Dean Ambrose at the Royal Rumble for the Intercontinental Championship. And Dean Ambrose could have been doing what he's doing right now on Raw, which is cutting promos about the tournament, about Seth Rollins, since how Seth Rollins is still intertwined a little bit, and he could still be intertwined a little bit in the rivalry as well, along with whoever wins the tournament. That would be okay. So what? That would be... that would make the number one contender much more important. You know, Apollo Crews won Battle Royal. And honestly, when I saw Apollo Crews win, the first thing that came to my mind was, I don't care. The first thing that came to my mind was, how am I supposed to believe about this star when he's done nothing outside of helping Braun Strowman beat Baron Corbin? Now, speaking of which, I don't know if anybody noticed, but Zack Ryder was on TV last night on Raw. He was in that Battle Royal. First time he was on TV in an entire year. Guess that tells you how much they care about Zack Ryder. But anyway, back to Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews winning. Okay. I might have cared more if WWE would have taken some time and done something different. Or better yet, having a best of 7 or a best of 6 or some type of series with 2 superstars, and then that winner faces Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship at the Royal Rumble. Something fresh. A battle royal to determine the number 1 contender for the IC strap or whatever championship is not fresh. Speaking of not fresh, speaking of rinse and repeat, same old, speaking of the more things change, the more they stay the same, the women's division. Now, I know that Mr. McManticause last week, or Mr. McMahon, announced that we're going to have women's tag team champions in the WWE. Okay. Don't know how well that's going to go over because of how they will book them. Will there be 2 sets? Will there be 1 set? Which brand will it be on? How well is this going to go over? But does this mean that every match with the women's division now has to be a tag team match? Does this mean that every match with the women's division has to be booked by Theodore Long? Holla holla, I don't think so. Gee. Whatever. Now, Baron Corbin and Elias Brawl. Who cares? Almighty Cringley and Seth Rollins. Like I said, the biggest thing that came out of this matchup, was Seth Rollins absolutely destroying, brutalizing Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley at the very end of it. Got himself disqualified, but it's showing a more aggressive, darker, deeper side of Seth Rollins. And quite frankly, let's be honest here. That is what's going to take to beat Brock Lesnar. That type of side is what they'll have to show out of kind of, I don't want to say this in a derogatory way, but you know how WWE is. If it's not somebody that's just as big as Brock Lesnar, then you know they'll have to show a deeper, darker side out of them. Just like Vince did AJ Styles last Tuesday, which I'm interested to see the follow-up on that. So they're teasing both men on who could possibly be to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania right now, building them up in that statue, if you ask me. And if, just a side note, if AJ Styles does not go on to face Brock Lesnar at Mania, then I could definitely see, as I mentioned before, Styles, Orton, him being able to take down Randy Orton because of this deeper, darker side. Have to wait and see what happens. Now, Slater and Rhino versus Mahal and the Singh brothers. Now, I know everybody's wanting this fresh start. I know everybody's wanting new, fresh matchups and all this stuff, and new rivalries and better storytelling and all this stuff from the creative writers, right? I don't think this is what we meant by that. When us fans tell the WWE how we feel, Slater and Rhino taking on Mahal and the Zhang brothers is not exactly what we mean by that. And honestly, that's all I have to say about it. Slater and Rhino lose. They have Rhino lose in his hometown. Not only lose, but have him get pinned in his hometown. Whatever. Who cares? Dean Ambrose beats Apollo Crews. If anybody thought Apollo Crews stood a chance at winning the Intercontinental Championship, I don't know what television show you were watching. He got his happy win. In the Battle Royal. A Moment with Bliss will begin next week on Monday Night Raw. She has her own talk show. I guess in some sense, this is the more things change, the more things stay the same in some fans' aspect. Some fans are probably joy juicing about it. Look, this is WWE's ways of saying we want Alexa Bliss on TV, whether she is hurt or not. Whether she's recouping or not, we want Alexa Bliss on TV. And we have to find some way to put her on TV because she can't be an authority figure anymore because the McMahons are there. Now, her first guest, Ronda Rousey. Only makes sense. Have to see what happens. Hopefully, it's not as cringe as the promos she was doing with Bayley and Sasha Banks, and they were asking questions from members of the audience. And in the main event, Ronda Rousey took on Nia Jax and Tamina. Okay, who cares? Whatever. Another women's tag team matchup. The only thing that happened on this show that was any type of different, any type of like real change, okay, in my estimation. And when I say this, you're probably going to think, well, we've seen this match before. This is a rivalry that has been going on for a little bit. So what are you talking about, Webby? Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre inside the steel cage opened up Monday Night Raw. The first thing I thought was, well, you're putting a steel cage match first to garner some ratings because that's going to be the best hour, right? Trying to make that the best hour. People flipping through channels, they see a steel cage, they're going to stay tuned in. As the match went on, you'd think Dolph Ziggler would win because Dolph Ziggler is the babyface in the rivalry, and steel cage matches, when you look in WWE history, most of the time are designed for the heel to lose. Ain't what happened. It's not what happened last night on Raw. Drew McIntyre victorious. pretty soundly, honestly. 4 Claymore kicks. 2 of them came during the match. After the match, Dolph Ziggler started to get up. Claymore kick with the steel chair right to Ziggler's face when he was up against the steel cage. He still got up, and he was sitting on the chair. Claymore kick again. Drew McIntyre looking more vicious, more dominant, just looking like a top winner, top contender to win in the Royal Rumble. Now, will that happen? I don't see that happening. I don't see Drew McIntyre winning the Royal Rumble. It really depends on who wins in the Universal Championship matchup, which I think is a conclusion that we can all just say Brock Lesnar is going to win, because they're not going to bring Brock Lesnar back to WWE and not take him to WrestleMania. So I don't see McIntyre versus Lesnar at Mania. 2 heels facing each other. It's not going to happen. With that being said, doesn't mean he's not going to have this extraordinary push. And then later on, down the line in 2019, you see Universal Champion Drew McIntyre. That is what I'm seeing. That's what I am seeing happening. But we shall all wait and see what happens. January 27th. But this was the New Year's Eve edition of Monday Night Raw, which pretty much states the more things change, the more things stay the same. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to become a subscriber. Share it amongst everything else. And see you tonight for SmackDown Live review. Until then, catch you on the other side.